Maybe if you could just go to them.
Yep, we'll start one by one. All right. Remember to identify which you want to do if you can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Here, which is good. Okay, could go to each one. Let's go through.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, now you're walking. Now you're walking on to it.
Oh, I'm still at that one.
Yeah. Now you're tapping it.
Okay.
Okay.
Would you mind to?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
And I'll do the next one. This is it.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. And there's one on the podium.
No.
Oh,
All around here. I didn't realize I was that long to delay.
yeah.
That's a long
You're,
delay.
so you're still over there. Maybe that's well.
like this laptop, it's nice.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Oh, I think it's cool with the red and black.
Yeah, me too, I like the colors.
I think it probably wants to zoom control. Let's see if it's okay.
might have to get you guys' help with setting even just this up. I don't know. I'm still figuring everything out. It's alright. Kristen McLean is our membership coordinator, and she's gonna be back in a little bit.
Okay.
She's gonna be around just to start, but if we have any major technical issues, she knows the system better than I do.
All right.
Panelists are showing up around 6:30, and everybody else on this side. You were here last year, you said?
I was, yeah.
Did it run till 7 last year? Did it run 2 hours total?
I don't think it did. I think it was close to it, but I don't.
Seems like a long time.
Yeah.
Kind of been like, I'm gonna put on some air conditioning.
I see the vents are open up there. Cool. Those are pretty quiet sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's
I was thinking it was in my house.
Yeah, I worked in my head years ago.
Yeah.
kind of.
That's how often the vents closed down.
For this case.
You guys live in the area?
He's one place, by yourself.
I live in Burlington.
Yeah. So you commute out here every day?
I have been. There's some staff housing in the back. There's business.
Oh, cool.
That it's pretty rustic. They're small little cabins, but I think once the summer really gets started, I'll probably move back there.
That's cool. Nice.
Yeah.
That's good that you guys have that.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
It's definitely a nice little perk.
Yeah.
Yeah, the commute kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I feel it. It's 40 minutes at the least, and like 50 minutes on busy days.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I don't know these.
you don't.
Yeah. I used to do very long distances. I hated it.
What were your long distances?
I used to do Philadelphia to northeastern Pennsylvania, and then so over an hour.
Wow.
Yeah. It's kind of another thing.
Yeah, from here to Burlington, my house is about 30 miles. Which is just like, really, it's too long to be driving every day. And it's not like environmentally friendly. Like 30 miles every day is a lot. There's 4 other people here that also carpool from Burlington. So sometimes we can get together for that, which is nice. Line and mic and headphones, headset and microphone, speaker out, speaker. Okay. So do you guys work, like is working for Orca, is that a full-time thing?
He's a full-time.
Full time, but I can do side projects and stuff, which is really nice.
Nice. It's serious. It's so cool. We're gonna be rocking and rolling in a little while. How do I plug this guy in? That's not in there. This has got to go somewhere. That's the speaker. Woohoo! Look what I did. I made technology work. You did AmeriCorps? Yeah. Nice. That's where my position is. Oh, nice. Yep. Where were you?
I was in Flemington, New Jersey.
Doing what?
Mostly environmental stuff and a lot of like all the nonprofits and stuff.
Cool.
I do a little stuff like the organization called Project Hughes in North Jersey. It's pretty cool. It's like an outward bound planning organization.
Okay.
That's what we do and stuff like that.
So you did like trip leading and stuff?
No, we did like training for them. So we do work with them, do some training and stuff like that.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, this is one of the women who works for us now. She was an AmeriCorps in Vermont. Our executive director did Peace Corps for 2 years. It's amazing how many people really like connect in public service like that.
That's incredible.
You know?
So you're in for branches in Burlington.
Yes. Well, actually, it's in Montpelier, and it's called Vermont Housing and Conservation Board, and they do all kinds of conservation work and housing work and stuff like that. Okay, so I have to make the sound work. How do I do that?
Yeah, we have a couple, there's a couple people.
Oh yeah, that's where I forgot.
Because this slideshow just kind of would explain, like it's not part of the presentation, it's.
No, not at all. Yeah, I think I'm probably just going to show it once, and then we'll stop it, because it seems kind of pointless to have it just going in the background for 2 hours. You know, like, especially if people have seen it.
It's not that long.
No, it's 80 slides, and it's on a 3-second or a 4-second interval. So it shouldn't be it shouldn't last long at all. Display settings. Oops. I don't know what just happened. Okay. When the dog comes up, there's supposed to be a dog bark that happens. Which is kind of goofy. I put it in. I was really bored when I was playing with this. Yeah, I don't know. I think that the format last year was pretty like informal, and it was the crowd, the audience was asking questions.
Yeah.
This year, I'm gonna try and make it a little bit more, like somewhat organized, where I have like a main topic, and each person will describe a little bit of themselves about that topic,
Yeah.
and then the audience can ask questions about that. It seems
Trick audience to like, for the panelists to repeat the questions because it's so hard to get sound.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So the audience is just like, hey, how do you do this?
Yeah.
But then,
I hope we have at least one people. So I don't really need the sound to work. I was kind of excited for the dog to make noise. I grew up in southern Maine, in a town called South Berwick. It's near York and Gunkwit and Portsmouth, the seacoast nexus of Maine and New Hampshire. Yeah, it's not a bad place. I was there till I graduated high school, and then I went to Keene State in southwest New Hampshire. And then since I graduated, I was working in New Hampshire for the Appalachian Mountain Club for about 3 years. Yeah, the Whites are a really fun place, and I enjoyed a lot of my time there, and just got kind of tired of it and moved to Burlington. Yeah. We found a really nice, place to live, and I got a job in town for a couple months, and then found this. I've only been here for about 6 weeks. Feels like longer, but it's really only 6 weeks. But it's working out. My job is I'm the group outreach and field coordinator. So I work with schools and Boy Scouts and college orientation trips to help them plan their outings on the lawn trail. As well. People do. I feel like it's less getting lost on the lawn trail and more just getting lost on it outdoors in general. And mostly, it's not like the people who are like out hiking the lawn trail to hike the lawn trail. It's the people that come up from like New York City to go hike Mansfield, and they don't bring a map or a compass, so they don't bring a bottle of water and they get cold. And, search and rescues are an increasing fact of outdoor recreation. Yeah, because as people become more and more friendly. Hey, how's it going? Hi. Are you Scott? I'm Scott. Nice to meet you, Scott. I'm Lauren. We have a table set up for you. Okay. Thanks for coming. Hi. My name's Lauren. Yeah. As you can see, this room is just not really ideal. And I would say we could go find a place outside, but tonight's just not going to be big enough. No, yeah, there's not really. coming, guys. It's very good of you to support him. It's good of him to support us. He's pretty cool, huh? Really? Yeah. I don't know. This one's at the St. Albans section, which is cool. And then these are these are pretty well used. These are wooden frame backboards, and most commonly used by truckers. Like anybody carrying really heavy loads, and you can just strap anything right on in here. Take a big long piece of rope and tie it straight down, and then use the shoulder straps, and you just go. Yeah, this is like a 8 or 9 pounds. When you think about lightweight backpacking, this is not it. These are really popularly used by the Aboriginal clubs, hunters, and by the trail crew there. And does anyone want to take a guess at what the heaviest load ever carried on one of these was? Keep going. Keep going. What's that? 300 pounds. Keep going. 331 pounds. And that was pieces of a cast iron stove that were packed from the summit of Mount Washington down to Lakes Plaza. So back then they actually used like French Canadian labor. People who had come down to work in either the railroad industry or the mining industry, and they were hired and paid by the pound. So I'm assuming, probably 250 pound unit. It's a mile and a half down. So that one man, somebody also did 10 trips in a day from the summit lakes, summit of Washington lakes. 10 trips a day, 100 pounds each trip. So in one day, you carry 1,000 pounds. No. There was also one guy who did the smart thing, where he carried up blankets. When he got to the top, he decided to soak the blankets in the lake, and then they weighed them. So he kind of cheated the system there. Yeah, because if you get paid by the pound, you can pack the light blankets and then soak them in the lake. You did?
Yeah, kind of goes out like that with disc.
Central say?
Yeah, wherever works really. We've all got big bags. There's not as much space as we'd like probably.
You know, one of the blocks that, I'm afraid it might knock the thing off that. Maybe behind the door. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you'll be fine out there. There's a lot of slack there. That we wanted to do. So, so in my message with Rob, he yeah. So there's this link.
Bless you. So it should be that.
So people that are watching online
Yeah.
will have this screen, and then this screen will be on their computer too, right?
Right. Yeah.
And
Look at that.
so they can just type in, and I can be on this,
Right.
reading it as they type in, right?
Right. So, yeah. Hopefully it'll get appropriate.
Yeah, yeah.
This is how people can be on there. Right?
So when we get started, and when this goes live, and when you guys start it,
Mm-hmm.
then this will go live as well.
Yep.
And then questions will just pop up on here.
Yep.
That's
So
our.
if someone, yeah. I mean, like if you type hi right now.
I cannot type right now.
Oh. But
Oh.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it is enabled.
Okay.
Oh, I know. Because at 7 o'clock, and then that's when it'll switch on. That's why I can't do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
So yeah, so that's good. That'll work then. And I'm guessing that when people want to type, they'll just type it right in there, and then it'll pop up.
Yeah. It will like
Mhm.
post the messages first time.
Cool. Good.
So is it still possible for people to go in online? I went to your webpage and hit that register button and just went to for, reach that down.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mentioned to my friends and said that you should try looking in, but I didn't know what link was to do that.
It should still be possible. Everybody that registered, we've been recording them throughout the day. When did that happen to you?
I just looked at that 2 hours ago.
Okay.
Registration closed out, you said register a day early.
Maybe. I'm not the one, I haven't been handling the whole registration. But when you register, we have a whole list of that, and we've sent out the online link to people.
Oh, I see.
So, yeah. And
I reached it like that, no find in the last week.
yeah, and I think that within a half an hour of us starting this, Rob told me that it would be posted, that it would be live right away on YouTube. Yeah,
But as far as being able to just send in questions,
I think so.
regardless of the
Yeah, if they really want to, then I can give you my email, and you can like send them a text, and they'll be right away. It'll be fine. Either one of those would work. Got get some hecklers at home. give you a little hint. No, wherever you want to have your bag. Oh, sweet. That's cool.
You can come closer maybe if you need to.
Hello, everybody. We can get started here in just a second. Thanks, everybody, for coming to the Green Mountain Club's End-to-Ender workshop panel. This has been going on for, I think, 10 or 11 years now, and it's a really great way for all of you people who might be interested in ways to get out on the long trail in the summer for a through hike or a section hike to ask our great volunteer panelists here about any questions that you might have or advice along the trail and hearing some really cool stories. And so I just want to introduce myself. My name's Lauren. I am the AmeriCorps Vermont Housing and Conservation Board member here at the Green Mountain Club. My role is as an outreach and field coordinator, so I work with college groups, I work with Boy Scouts, I work with summer camps to help them get out on the long trail responsibly and minimize their impact on others and on the outdoors. Groups are a really important user of the outdoors, and if we want to get a younger generation involved in hiking and camping and stewardship, then it's super important that they do it responsibly outside. This is only my 7th week here at the GMC, so if I mess up lots of stuff, then that is my excuse, but that's not going to happen, so that's fine. And I also wanted to thank Orca Media, who is our two guys, Zach and Matt, back there. Everybody give them thanks. They came here and they set this all up on the internet. So right now, people, roughly 50 or 60 people are at home streaming this live on YouTube, which is a really cool thing. And other things to note is bathrooms are right around the corner over there. There's 2 bathrooms there. There's a bathroom downstairs. And if you need water, all the water in those are good. We don't have any water faucets, but those sinks in there are really good. And kind of the way that I wanted to kind of structure our panel here is we're going to first we're going to introduce all of our panelists and then also show this wonderful slideshow that we have. And then I wanted to list out a couple topics, maybe, topics that we all might think about if we're going on a 3-week backpacking trip. And then we can go through the panelists and have everybody talk about their experience with that topic, whether it's water purification or their favorite snacks on the trail. And then after everybody's kind of gave their opinion, we can open it up for questions. So we can really go through and flesh out every little thing. So yeah, if we want to start, if Cedric, you want to maybe mention a couple things. I was thinking if you could say your name, your trail name, where you're from, whether you were hiking with somebody else on the trail or by yourself, and then your favorite spot along the trail, and anything else that you feel you might have to share. And that is by no means a hard and fast.
My name is Cedric McDougall. I live in Essex, Vermont. My favorite spot on the trail, I have a nice little camping spot next to Big Branch River that I thought was pretty amazing. It was a really long day of hiking, and there was a really nice pool to swim in and relax there. Really appreciated that.
Sweet.
Somebody else?
Did you, I guess, were you hiking by yourself? Did you have a partner? Did you ever meet up with people?
I hiked by myself, but there was a couple of people that kind of frog hop each other, kind of stayed in a very similar bubble. So ended up meeting the same people at the same shelters pretty much.
A question I did want to ask later is what was your favorite swimming spot on the trail? So it sounds like Big Branch might be a good one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Lauren. I hiked with my husband and a yellow lab. I'm from Facein, Vermont. We trail named Blinders. Kind of about our trip, we hiked in 16 days. We could have done it in 15, but we did like 1 hour on the 16th day. We just basically let the dog set the pace and then tried to keep up with her. We never got off the trail, just had friends meet us at the road and drop off foods, and never had a meal that we didn't carry on our pack. So, yeah, that was a little unique, but, did I get them?
Yeah, that's really cool. That's great.
I'm Catherine. I'm from Montreal, Canada. I did it southbound because the border was the easiest spot to get a ride to. I never got a trail name, but that's okay because I was kind of just there to be myself, and I was doing it solo. I think it's kind of the party you're traveling with that ends up giving you a trail name. What else? It took me 23 days. I had never done an overnight hike before in my life. Somebody mentioned the trail and it sounded like a lot of fun, and it was. Favorite spot is pretty much, honestly, the entire trail, especially the northern part. Once you get north of the Appalachian Trail, just has a very, very lovely vibe to it. And yeah, it was incredible experience. Everybody do it. You got this. Yep.
Hi, I'm Scott. Didn't have a trail name while I was hiking the trail. Somebody else was to give it to you. And I'm from Williston, Vermont, close by here. I thought I was going to be doing a through hike, but it wound up being a section hike. I did it in 2 years, in 14 and 15. It took me 30 days all told. Hiked south to north. And my favorite spot, there were so many, but my favorite spot was Banya-Winooski Bridge, because my family met me there, and we hiked across it together. I was with friends about half the time and alone the other half, but you're never really alone on the trail. There's so many people that you meet.
I'm Deborah Luskin, and I'm from Newfane, Vermont. And I did the trail with a friend from Alaska, who I hadn't seen in a long time. And we did it in 25 days from August 15th to September 8th in celebration of turning 60. And we stayed in shelters most of the time. I carried a tent until our last resupply. And the resupply was my husband, AKA the Mule. And he met us in Johnson, and we gave him the tent. And of course, that night, we stayed out on Laraway Mountain, and that was my favorite spot. We had an incredible sunset, moonset, and it was the Friday of Labor Day weekend, and we saw a most amazing fireworks display. It was really neat. Did I get everything? It was a transformative experience, which is what I was hoping for. I met Catherine at Clarendon Shelter, and I've been blogging about it, and also on VPR. So, yeah.
I'm Eli. I did it with one of my friends, and our trail name were the Two Jews. And it took us 19 days, and we took 3 rest days. My favorite spot was getting to the top of Camel's Hump, because there was like 50-mile-per-hour winds, and it was just kind of cool because the amount of times we've also been up there on just little hikes. And it was my first overnight hike. My friend planned everything, and I just kind of went along for the ride, and I was surprised at how much fun I had.
Cool. Thanks everybody for sharing. And here is the slideshow, courtesy of our fabulous panelists right here. We got, I'm sorry, I put you guys in a poor spot to watch this. We should have 2 screens, that's my next suggestion. All right, here's Zoom.
No. Oh, yeah. Yay. What's your name?
Tenny, but on the trail she went by. Lefty?
Oh, that was down. That's my hiking partner.
Yeah, if you guys out there have anything to share, then feel free. I'll just go with it.
What? No escalators?
Griffith's Lake.
Yeah, beautiful.
I recently found
It's
out.
never like that.
I recently found out Vermont's nickname is Vermud.
Yeah.
That fire car was terrifying. I have fear of heights.
That was my partner for part of it, and that's how Mount Hard, coming up around me.
Oh, White Rock.
Right, right.
That was the beginning, actually.
Since you started. Okay.
Yeah, that's my habit.
That's Pine Copple, Massachusetts. Starting.
That's where you start, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where we ended because we went northbound.
It's so beautiful.
On the way up to Mansfield.
It's just peaceful.
Yeah.
So green.
It's
Yeah.
so green. And it smells so good.
Yeah. The Stratton Fire Tower.
Yeah. Where I'll be in.
Yeah. It looks like Burnt Hill. Stratton Pond.
That was our that was our food drops from our buddies.
That could be anywhere.
That's right.
Wonderful stove set.
Yeah, that's Little Rock Glen.
Where's that?
Little Rock Glen is Little
Oh,
Rock.
yeah, yeah. That's one there.
Oh, yeah. Nice smooth trail.
Winooski Bridge.
Mm.
Oh, that's beautiful. Lincoln.
Mm-hmm. Might have, yeah.
Keep the fog.
Yeah.
And it cleared up a little bit.
Is that snow?
No, that's the Blaze.
Oh, wait, it's the big blaze. yeah.
Camel's Hump.
That looks kind of cold.
That's the end of the long
Next
trail.
picture's cold.
That's just,
That was just kind of neat.
yeah, just short of the border.
Oh, at Mansfield. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Woodford. No, that's Winooski.
These guys are tiny. They're tinier than your fingers, so just careful to step on them.
That's Griffith Lake.
Yep. Duxbury Road. Just before the Winooski Bridge. Mansfield. Just off the chin on Mansfield. Somewhere. Main Junction. Main Junction at Rutland, yeah.
Fills out, yeah.
And that's the view from Mansfield.
Yeah.
That's Duxbury Road.
Yeah, that's the Whiskey Bridge thing.
An old trail sign.
Mm.
That's pretty cool.
Somewhere very north.
Killington.
Be careful.
Vermont.
Be careful because
Yeah.
Whoa.
heads up.
Yeah.
They're not stable.
It's from Laraway in the morning.
Deep thoughts.
J Peak. Yeah.
Oh, this is Stark's Nest. It's at Mad River Glen, and it's open, and it's a really good place
Yeah,
to
that's right, that one. A lot of people's favorite spot.
Mansfield.
That looks hard with a big pack.
Yeah.
Yep.
We actually had to pull our packs up by rope at one place.
I think that's Beacon. Tired. Oh, the Inn at Long Trail near Killington.
Oh, yes.
They'll let you camp in their front yard.
That's Mansfield.
Yeah, the forehead.
And the
Yeah.
trail is just vertical in some places.
That's, yeah, so that's
Yeah.
proper shelter, I think.
Oh, there's really neat old farm machinery in the.
You're covering it with it.
That's from Laraway Mountain. View from Laraway.
Um,
That's
I got a little crazy with the transitions there. Hope you like my airplane. Yeah, you want to hit the lights there, Matt? Thanks. Sweet. So, thanks all of you for sending in those pictures. It's really fun to watch you guys who know the trail super well look at it and just like blurb out like, oh, that's there, that's there, that's there. And I think that in a way it shows how many little tiny memories you make along, you know, a 270-mile walk. So that's pretty neat. And I guess we can kind of get right into some of the things that I think we should talk about for advice on how to hike the Long Trail. And the first thing is, and every one of my backcountry hikes, whether it's a day hike or if I'm out for 4 days, the first thing I think about is my food. What am I going to be bringing for food? Which is a pretty obvious thought, but it's also the most fun thought because, like, cooking dinner after 16 miles is awesome. And so I was wondering if you guys would be able to talk a little bit about, you know, your favorite meals, whether you went backpacker pantry or if you prepped everything at home. Something that I'm always concerned about is, like, I love fruits and vegetables. You cannot eat carrots every single day when you're on the Long Trail. So how did you kind of deal with that, or anything that really, you felt was most important regarding the meals on the trail? Can you start, Cedric?
Sure.
Cool.
When I started thinking about how I was going to use the Long Trail, I took into consideration how many drops I was going to have and where I was going to get resupplied. I really was only going to have 2. So I was going to meet my family at the end of the Long Trail, and then I was going to pretty much hike home to Essex. So I was going to resupply in those 2 spots. So I wanted to maximize how much food I could bring for a minimum amount of weight and space. So I decided I was going to dehydrate a lot of things. I also decided with dehydrating I was going to do some like hot cozy cooking. So real simple, just boil some water, throw it in a bag, put it in a hot cozy and let it sit while you set up your camp. 15, 20 minutes later, it's rehydrated hot, you can go ahead and eat. It's really simple, but it takes a little bit of time and preparation. So, I mean, I think I bought a dehydrator a few months before I took off my trip. Just started letting it run overnight, dehydrating like things like apples and making, because everybody has too much oatmeal on the trail. The trick is to try to like throw different things in the oatmeal each day so you can get a little bit of variety. But things that rehydrated really well for me were like taco meat. You do some beef and you dehydrate it, throw in some taco seasoning, and that rehydrates really, really well. Throw it together with some soft taco shells and maybe a little block of cheese in there. It's really a really nice hearty meal after a long day of hiking. Yeah, the downfall of doing that is you're kind of pigeonholed into eating dehydrated meals if you're cooking that way. I mean, I had an alcohol stove, so it was also super, super light, but you don't get the ability to turn up and down the heat so much. So it's not, you can boil things, but you only have high when you're cooking. So taking into consideration how you're going to cook kind of drives what you have to bring to. So that's kind of how I went about it. Carry about 6 to 7 days at a time with snacks and stuff.
Have you ate dehydrated food since then, or are you off dehydrated food?
I did take a break for a little while.
Nice.
I still fire for dehydrated. Some of the fruits you can dehydrate already.
Cool.
In terms of planning weight, do you have an average like poundage of food per day out? I mean, I've read like 1.5 to 2. But you found a different number to be true, or would you?
You know, I basically just try to ration out a certain amount of food per day and see if I can stuff it all in the sack for the week. You know, whatever fit in there, I was like, okay, is that enough? Will I make it? I was like, okay, just make sure I had a good solid meal at the end of the day. Some great easy things I can just grab and snack on during the day. And like I said, I thought oatmeal for breakfast was kind of really hard to even kind of fill up your belly with. But one of the things I did note was it really fill up at the end of the night, keeps you warm at night. It's chugging. And it really just helps you sleep better, I found. You know, the nights I didn't eat as much, I didn't sleep as well, and I certainly wasn't as warm.
For backpacker pantries, if you got backpacking food, planning a 300 mile second hike of the Secret Crest and Columbia Trail in the summer. I'm deep in planning right now. But by the way, if you guys don't know, EMS in South Burlington is closing, and everything is like 20% off.
Oh, really?
A bunch of stuff today, including a bunch of backpacking food. But it was like supposedly 2 servings, but I was thinking maybe after hiking 14 miles in the Sierras, maybe I could eat 2 servings.
You can.
Yeah,
Yep.
you pretty easily can.
Yes.
That's the true sign of a hiking camel right there. You can eat more than you think you can.
You can eat a lot of food.
Yeah. You eat like a lot more than you think you got. So, yeah.
I had 4 food drops, so a few more opportunities to get some food. We were the picture that we planned it all out ahead of time. Some really awesome, ate dry oatmeal plain every day for breakfast. That kind of sucked. Got over it. Lunch, we never stopped for like a lunch break. We just continuously ate throughout the day. Ate a lot of Cliff Bars. I don't know the name. It's a Vermont company. They make beef sticks, like Vermont Cure.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were absolutely incredible. We ate a lot more of those than we expected to. We honestly, the only fight we had, my husband and I, on the trail between the two of us was one day when he started eating more than I had, and I did all the planning, and so I knew how much food we each had each day. And by 9 a.m. he had his 3 bars for the day, and I started hoarding the food and went into panic mode. We're not gonna have enough because we had no other options. Our friends already had our cardboard box and they were bringing it to us, so there was no opportunities to get extra. And we did freeze-dried the little whatever prepared meals every night, and yeah.
I feel like that's definitely an argument that I would get into is but there's food here, we should eat more of it, and then I'd have to have somebody
Eat it all. I sort of planned, but I also just kind of winged it a lot of the time. I think I brought about 5 days with me, so my first resupply was in Johnson. Overall, I probably carried way more food than I needed, but I like to have a lot of food on me, so I like to eat a lot of food. Breakfast was oatmeal with nuts and dried fruit, coconut. Coconut is very dense and calorie rich. Snacks were gummy bears and milk chocolate was a huge craving, and nuts because of the annoying. Lunch was probably tortillas with either Nutella and peanut butter or cheese and pepperoni. And just snack throughout the day, chocolate, nuts, what have you. Dinner was nice to have a hot dinner. It was either Lipton Sidekicks, ramen noodles. The potatoes were really hard to stomach after a couple packages, but I added either ramen noodles with tuna and cheese, and just as much olive oil would be good to have. That's one thing I wish I'd brought with me. And chocolate, a lot of chocolate. As much chocolate as you want. Just as long as it's dense, calorie rich, and kind of compacts very well, I would say go for it.
Well, I admire Cedric with all the planning and dehydration. I didn't have that much foresight or time. EMS was having another sale where if you bought the Mountain House stuff in bulk, and I also got my Green Mountain Club club days. So all those discounts, they'll end up being reasonably cheap. And I pretty much ate at the Mountain House at Backpackers Pantry pretty much every night. My favorite breakfast was peaches and cream, Quaker and oatmeal, and some hot chocolate in the morning. And I like Kind bars and a lot of nuts as well. The friend I went with for about half of the hike had a great recipe for these super calorie-dense cookies he called monster cookies. His children called them sawdust cookies, but they were actually quite good. And there was a super high-energy paste that he made out of almond butter and almond oil and cashew oil. Took a long time to make, but it was great. But the second half of the trip I couldn't get my act together to do that myself. So I just wound up, the best thing about those Mountain House meals is that I have like an alcohol spill, only it's a MSR reactor, and it boils water really fast, like in a minute. And you pour it into that bag and wait 15 minutes, and the meals were really quite good. And there's no cleanup at all. You just zip it up, and I hated cleaning dishes at the end of the day, so that made it very easy. I did not get tired of them. There's enough variety. I haven't had any since, I'll grant you, but I would eat them if I have to, you know, and I thought they were great.
Oh, I did the Cedric method. I grow a lot of my own food and have a dehydrator anyway, and Jan, my hiking partner from Alaska, said, oh, we're going to have variety, and we're going to have meat. I thought we were going to eat like rice and beans every night. So I started to get on it, and I used my dehydrator. You can turn a pint jar of salsa into what is about an 8.5 by 11 sheet, and then tear it up. And you can also make tomato leather out of homegrown, homemade tomatoes, if you really want to do this. Tomato leather is fantastic. It rehydrates into tomato sauce. I dehydrated chard, all sorts of vegetables. I supplemented it with Backpackers, the Backpackers sampler pack from Harmony House, where I got freeze-dried garbanzo beans, which rehydrate really quickly. Our goal was to be able to cook everything in in 2 cups of water. We had an MSR Dragonfly with us and a titanium pot, so it had to be a 1-pot meal. It had to cook in less than 10 minutes, and plus maybe some sitting time. We had such variety. We had fabulous coconut curried red lentils. So we just made regular food, but we adapted it. We had a couscous dish with couscous. It had the garbanzo beans. It had dried apricots in it. Every day for breakfast we had oatmeal, cornmeal. No, it was just couscous we bought in the bulk at my co-op, the Brattleboro Food Co-op. So that was the other thing. I mean, start by going through first the co-op, then all the grocery stores, and looking. This is a novel experience. You go looking for high-calorie food that cooks instantly. This is not how I usually shop. And it was fascinating. I found a really good instant polenta, which we ate for breakfast sometimes with fruit, sometimes with cheddar. Cabot makes a powdered cheddar, which is fantastic. For breakfast, we had 6 different varieties of granola because it was on sale the week I went in. And milk seems to come only as instant dry fat, and so we add Cremora to it, which makes it much more high calorie and much more delicious. We also splurged. Our one big splurge was on coffee. We brought Starbucks Vitas, and we had 1 a day. Lunch was usually black bean dip that we rehydrated. I have with me a plastic peanut butter jar in which we would rehydrate whatever we were going to have for lunch in the morning, and then I'd carry it and we'd eat it with Dr. Cracker crackers. Awesome. I'd make a salad for fruits and vegetables. I'd buy freeze-dried corn, and we had dehydrated cabbage and carrots, and I put them. Everything was in a sealed. I have a vacuum sealer, so everything's in the order in which you put it into things. And I seasoned it with celery seed and salt and pepper, and we carried olive oil and vinegar for flavorings, and also used it as moisturizer when we needed it. The olive oil, not the vinegar. And so we had that great breakfast of coffee and cereal. We had the lunch for snack. Jan's from Alaska. She brought salmon jerky. You add that with some dried seaweed to ramen noodles. It's not so bad. And then we also had this deluxe resupplier who came with cucumbers from the garden, steak dinner, and hot brewed coffee.
So if you need an answer, eat like Deborah.
Right. We ate really well. We ate probably more calories during snack time. We did not have enough calories, but I lost my appetite I lost a lot of weight and I lost my appetite, which is really peculiar. Never happened to me before in my life. We were really tired by the end. We did not take a day off. And we just hiked every day. We were off the trail, In it Long Trail, friends at Mid-State. So we had 2 nights off the trail and big feeds and baths. Really nice.
So for water, we use a jet boil, which boils water very fast, but we want to try to keep it clean, so we wouldn't put any food in there. So we had like a backpacker's pantry, just to, like my friend and I. So we shared a backpacker's pantry, and then each had ramen for that. And then, so that'd be our dinner usually. And then for breakfast, we'd have 2 packs of oatmeal, and then we'd have 3 bars for each of us throughout the day. And we'd always have like a thing of beef jerky or something like that, just to kind of snack on. And we'd have 2 lunches. The first lunch would be like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and then the second lunch would always be like tuna fish or something like that. And we had that every day. So by the end, I was a little tired of that same routine. But like the backpacker's pantry stuff, like honestly, is better than I was expecting. So it made it work pretty well.
I like your 2 lunches, just like
Yeah.
little hobbits along Vermont's trail. Second breakfast.
Well, we had bread for the first. We did 3 resupplies. First resupply, we had bread, and then the other 2 we used tortillas, like tortilla things, because it's a lot easier to carry than bread. So.
You are bringing tuna with you. The Inn at the Long Trail actually has mayo packets. So that made my what would have been dry tuna salad really, really, really tasty. So gave it that extra, a lot of fat and stuff from that mayonnaise. But kicked that up a notch. So.
You could get like the tuna in the sleeve.
Yeah, the tuna in the packets there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had one of those, and I was going to eat it sometime. And then when I was there with my family, I was like, oh, they have mayo packets. I was like, can I get like 6 of these, please? She's like, yeah.
They come flavored as well. There's like lemon and pepper flavor, and there's like little salmon, the same thing, the little pouches. And so those were glorious when we had them.
You can,
Additionally, food drops you had.
with 3.
We had 3.
I had 6.
I think 5.
I had,
5.
our last was 8.
8.
Yeah.
I do 9 on this.
Yeah.
I kind of had a half food drop because I really resupplied way too much in Montpelier, and I got to Killington and I still had a lot of food, so I just raided a hiker box for breakfast. That was pretty good. But about, 4, 3.5.
Got a couple questions on this topic that came in from online, and one of them is, where were the best places to send drop boxes, and were there any sections where you found resupply to be pretty difficult along the Long Trail? Yeah.
The easiest place was to send a box to the Inn at the Long Trail. We actually didn't mail it to them. We just dropped it right off on our way driving down Route 100.
Yeah, that's what we also.
You know, you drop your box, right? And they, okay, no, let us know when you think you're going to come through, and you put your name on a chart, and they go and put it in a closet, and it's just a closet, because you're also, at this point in time, you're also with all the AT hikers, right? And so they go and put a closet, and the closet is just top to bottom, like boxes. And they like try to put it in order of like planning where they think you're going to come through. So we like want to come through like July 2nd through 3rd or whatever. And so they like put it in that shelf. But it was just like eye-opening to watch them put it in there. And that was the easiest drop by far.
Closet full of backpacking food. That's cool. Anybody else in terms of sections where resupply were difficult, or places that you sent your boxes?
Everything was pretty easy. Johnson was really easy to walk into. And as an aside, there's a really good swimming hole behind the church across from the market if you want a bath. It's a good spot. That was easy to walk into, and everywhere else, hitching was easy. It was pretty easy.
Yeah, I
I
feel like the
didn't
Long
find
Trail passes through our towns pretty regularly. It's not a super.
There's road crossings every 12 miles or so, which are,
Yeah.
some are easier than others, but
And I would suggest mark on your map where possible resupplies are, so you kind of plan ahead a little bit if you're not fully planning it ahead of time like I didn't do.
One thing that I actually used was better than the map was like the Long Trail app, and it can actually show you that you can like mark your point A and point B, and it can show you the distances between shelters and show you pictures of the shelters that you want to stay at, and it just makes life a lot easier and can show your elevation for that day, and it just makes everything a lot easier than using a map. So.
I think that, especially people here know Vermont probably, but people watching might not. And the one thing I didn't have and wish I did have, even though I didn't need resupplies, was the Vermont road map. Because the end-to-end hiker's guide is really good, but for people from away, you need to know that a big black dot in Vermont might be a town of 2,000, and there might not be a grocery store there anymore. So are our biggest towns. So a combination of knowing which are really big towns, how far they are, the size of the roads that get you there, and the end-to-end guide. So I live in southern Vermont and hike Stratton all the time, and I met some people doing the Long Trail, and they hiked into Wardsboro. It's a 7-mile, it's a 7-mile hitch. And then there's a store, but it's not a road that anybody drives on. So I don't know how they were going to get back at night. I don't know what they were going to get, what they were going to find. I didn't think it was a really good resupply place, but they were out of food. So we got them there. But
Does anybody, any questions from the crowd?
How many miles a day did you do?
We did like 16 or 17 on average, and we did one 21-mile day, and we regret doing that. And it was a long day.
All right, so how many miles would you recommend doing?
Like for us, it was probably like 16 or 17 was comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess you have to start smaller and work your way up.
Yeah.
You start to get, your body becomes traumatized to just walking, but it takes a few days. If you start off with a bang and try to bang out really big miles like I did in the very beginning, you'll hurt for it, and your body will eventually catch up and you'll acclimatize to the miles, but I think if I started a little slower and worked up to the bigger miles, I would probably be better off at least.
Yeah, our first day was 11 miles, like a 15-mile day. So like the easier days at first made it much easier to get used to.
well, I had a different take. It depends also if you're going north or south.
Yeah.
So I started in the south where it's flat, sort of. And we did a lot of miles in the south because the north, the elevation is really hard. There's a lot of elevation up and down from App Gap. When you leave App Gap and you go over Molly Stark and General Stark and Baby Stark, and and that's the end of the day that I had already done Abe, Lincoln, and Ellen. So it's a lot of elevation. And then you get to Whiteface? Whiteface, my least favorite mountain in the state. It's really hard. There's a lot of up and down, and you saw one picture of the roots and stones. So I have friends who've done the Pacific Crest Trail, I have friends who've done the AT, they've done the Long Trail, they have failed at it before they've succeeded, because the Long Trail is short and difficult. The footing is hard, the elevation is relentless. It shouldn't be underestimated. But I did anywhere, Mount Mansfield was our shortest day of 7 or 8 miles, but we did a few 16-mile days. In the south, we did 13 miles out of the gate. We did 14, 15-mile days in the south, and then we slowed down. Our average was 11 miles a day.
This is another topic here for you if you're planning 300 miles out west. Anywhere is really, on the Long Trail map, we have an elevation profile along the top of it, and it's the main reason why all the Appalachian Trail thru hikers start in the south, is because it's easier. And because you can build yourself up so that when you get to Vermont and New Hampshire and Katahdin, you're able to do the tough elevation.
I use that elevation little tracker thing, just in the book, you can watch it, and I hated going downhill. We would look for the uphills, and it was like if there was a steep descent, I was like, I don't even want to do it, And it was like, oh, we got another uphill, thank God. I either wanted uphill or I wanted flat. I was not a fan of the downhills. But similarly, we started in the south, and we cranked it out from the beginning, and our first 3 days were 20-plus days. And our theory was, it's flat now-ish. We got to go while we get the energy. Worked. Don't recommend it.
Yeah.
For the Catherine Seed Southbound.
Yes.
So do you find that to be difficult because it's a lot more mountainous?
I mean, I don't really have anything to compare it to. It was definitely, by day 3, it was an 8-mile day. 1 o'clock came, I hit Tillotson Shelter, that was it. It just kind of, it is a lot more rocky. It's a lot more fun too.
Do you guys think that, like, if I was finding thought into that particular, like, where there's a lot of mountains and stuff, and found, do you find that it was, like, you were doing 8 or 9 mile days and that was it, or like in the mountains, or were you still around 10, 11, 12 mile days?
I kind of ramped up actually as I went. I started kind of big and then I slowed down, I guess, right around the main junction. I took my time for a little bit. I had a deadline to meet. I had to meet my family at a certain time at the long trail. So originally it was going to be Saturday, but there's some plans on Saturday that weren't going to work, so we had to be Friday. It's like, oh, well, I just lost a day, so I got to bring up those miles. So that's why I kind of had to push myself a little bit at the beginning. But I don't know. I think I averaged about the same most of the way through. I think I had one really big day near the end because it was going to start raining. And I said, well, I could break this up into 2 days, or I could try to crank it all out now because it was getting close to the end. And it was going to drop to like 40 in rain the last day. I'm like, do I want to hike the last day in 40 in rain, or do I want it to be a resort, relaxing, waiting for my family to come and chill out? And I watched the Patriots game. That was that Thursday night game with when they beat up the Houston Texans. It was really nice to watch, actually. Meat Lovers Pizza. Relax. Very nice.
I think another thing with how long you hike is, we hiked around the summer solstice, so we had 13 hours plus a day of sunlight. And so it's easier to crank out a lot of miles when you have until 7 o'clock at night. And even then you get in at 7 and you still have an hour plus of daylight. Versus hiking in October, I'm sure will be quite different.
Actually, I think that's maybe more important than the number of miles. It's the number of hours you want to be on the trail. And we were on the trail for 11 hours a day. Doesn't matter how many miles we did. We were always on the trail for 11 hours. And by September, it was noticeably darker sooner. We'd often eat by headlamp. And sometimes we hiked it by headlamp. I mean, not by headlamp, but by dark.
You can tell from the size of my pack, I wasn't into traveling light, so I was aiming for smaller amounts, and I averaged 10 miles a day. I had 150 miles per day, and that was more than I wanted to do. And since I started in the south, where it was easier, I got into better shape, so it was okay to do 10-mile days even in the north. I only hiked for 6 or 7 miles a day, and I had plenty of time to relax for lunch and set up my camp early. I had this wonderful hammock, which is so comfortable, and I really enjoyed long afternoons and getting to bed early.
And you found places to hang out all the time?
Yeah, I spent 21 nights on the actual trail and not staying in like Tack Lodge or at the long trail. And I found hammock sites at 19 of those. 2 of them I had a problem, and so I went inside the shelters and hung in front of the rafters of the shelters a couple of times. I'm not sure if that's okay or not, but it didn't seem to do any damage.
GMC caretakers can try and accommodate things. We ask people to not set up tents in shelters because when you set up a tent in a shelter, it really just shrinks the shelter immensely. But if they didn't want you to do it, then they would have told you that. So I'm sure you're fine.
Well, there were no caretakers there, but it didn't seem to be an issue.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a sleeping pad because I was in the hammock. So if I wasn't going to use the hammock in the shelter, it was going to be on the hard.
Now, since you guys were talking about mileage, I was wondering if you could quickly say just what your pack was for.
Mine was about 33 water.
33 pounds.
Mine was 25 pounds. I just got a signal from my husband, but his was a little more. And if it's okay if I share a little story.
Yeah.
Throughout the trip, I didn't do it on purpose, but I started resupply, you pack back up in the morning, and day by day I'd put one extra thing in his pack, one extra thing in his pack. We got to Ira Allen, and is that a mountain?
Yeah.
Yeah. Terrible.
Yeah.
Hated everything about it, but he was absolutely dying, couldn't figure it out. He went to go pick up my pack to go pass it to me. He felt it weighed about 15 pounds, and his was about 45 at that point. And he just looks at me, and he's like, yeah, okay, took it too far. And so I got back down, and I went back up to my 25 pounds. He went back down to his. He carried about 30. I carried about 25. But
That's good.
yeah, don't be that heavy partner.
And you guys are still together? Can I ask, what was your dog's pack weight?
Yeah, give a little shout out to Roughwear. I don't know if you guys can see the pack. So Roughwear makes these like real hardy packs that like a dog can wear like all his extra weight. This is like a hydration pack. It's not, I don't know, we never filled that with water though. It's not supposed to carry a ton, but she carried 4 days of food in that. We doubled her up on her food. We asked the vet what to do, and he's like, feed her double, fed her double. It was great. So she carried all her own food in the pack, all her own treats. She was a champion. We didn't touch her food.
Any regrets hiking the dog? Were there spots on the trail where it was difficult getting the dogs?
One spot difficult, going up over Mansfield, there's a few ladders, and so the beauty of the pack is you also, she's 50 pounds. So, I think, my husband picked her up, and he climbed the ladder with her in one hand and held it on the other, and one tricky spot. Other than that, she was a champion.
Did you find you had to have her on leash most of the time?
She went on leash when we were on on the top of a peak, that had the vegetation. So on the top of Mansfield, on the top of Abe. I think those might have been the only two. Other than
Camel's
that,
Hump.
Camel's Hump, yeah. Dog. She stays right with us. So.
Did anybody mind having dogs?
No, people loved her. I mean, she's pretty well behaved. Like, she sticks with us. And actually, every night we set up our tent. And we sit in tent most of the nights because I think we wanted to, with the dog, you don't often want to stay in a shelter because you never know who does or doesn't like a dog. And we would set up our tent, and before we even pull out our cook stove to get things started, she would be sitting at the edge of the tent ready to go in for the night. And so she was the minute we got there, she was in the tent. And so, yeah, no problems with the dog. People absolutely loved her. Everyone we met wanted to meet her more than they wanted to meet us.
If I can mention something, the GMC, a lot of our employees have dogs. I love dogs. The policy on dogs on the Long Trail is leashed on summits and under voice control all the rest of the time. So essentially what I would judge it is if you wouldn't bring your dog over to a neighbor's house for dinner or something, your dog probably isn't well behaved enough to be hiking with other people, sleeping in other people's shelters. You really want to be considerate of others and consider those kind of things. On the summits, the reason is because of alpine ecology, and that there's plants up there that have been growing for 75 years, and even a small dog paw print will destroy them. So staying on the trail on the summits is really important. It sounds like your dog is awesome.
Yeah, I love meeting dogs on the trail. My pack weighed about 40 pounds. I guess that was the only time I ever weighed it, was that in a long trail that had a scale and I'd resupplied. So 40 pounds. It was definitely heavier climbing Camel's Hump because I got too much food again and Montpelier. So try and time your resupplies after a giant peak. That's if possible. It might not be possible, but just it'll make your knees happier.
So I'm a little embarrassed. My pack started at 60 pounds and I got down to 45 at the end. I carried a lot of water, and I thought I was going to try to maintain some personal hygiene, so I was misguided that way. But and I even carried some electronics, and the hammock was no more heavy than a tent and a sleeping pad. I'm not sure what else made it so heavy, but I carried as many as 8 days of food at a time. No, it could be open, but it had a mosquito netting and then a tarp over it. So it was actually toasty dry, even in a driving rainstorm. And never a problem with bugs. I actually have it set up in the downstairs when we're done. You can try it out if you want. Yeah, I was very skeptical of the idea of it. One of my students was reading about one, and I said, how can you sleep like that on that line? You get a terrible backache. But actually, the way that you lie in it, you lie diagonally, you're lying perfectly flat. And it's very comfortable. I slept almost better there than I would even in my own bed. And it was great to be right at ground level, so you could turn it into a chair and be able to sit up and cook your whole meal. You could do the whole thing under this tarp, including pack your entire bag. And the last thing you did was, if it was raining, take that wet tarp in a special way to keep that from getting the rest of your pack wet. And so it was just a dream.
Scott, you got a couple of nice comments on our YouTube link. Oof, 40 pounds, well done. And somebody also feels a lot better about their pack weight now that they've had about yours.
Took a bullet.
Deborah?
So with 2.5 liters of water, when we left home, my pack weighed 35 pounds. And I'd never done anything like this before. So we got out of the car at Pine Cobble, and we both put our packs on, and I staggered and quickly put the packs down and took out our hiking poles, which made a big difference. So it distributed the weight a little bit more. For some reason, I don't really know why, when we packaged up our dinners, we weighed them all and marked the weight on each package, and we quickly figured out that we would eat the heaviest food first. So what's for dinner? What weighs the most? And it was really, it was terrific.
We did the same thing.
Yeah. I don't know why we did it, but I'm glad we did. And we also jettisoned stuff along the way. We didn't need sunscreen or bug dope. Didn't weigh a lot, but we got rid of everything we didn't need. And after our last resupply, we ditched the tent. I had a 2.5-pound tent that we borrowed, and we used it about 25% of the time. And just for the last, because we had 8 days of food for the last leg of the trip. So we got rid of the tent, and that was fine.
So my pack weighed about 15 pounds, and my friend's was like 16 or 17. Because we split all the food. Like I took the tent, he took the stakes and the poles.
Steaks.
No. And so pretty much everything we shared. Like I didn't bring a change of clothes or anything like that, so I made it as light as possible. And like I had no really extra things that I brought. And like the only extra thing I brought was a phone charger and my phone, because like I listen to podcasts the last like 2 hours of hiking when you just don't want to be hiking anymore. But yeah.
So cell phone service along the trail?
Top of peaks there usually are, but there's more than I was expecting. But the thing that I was worried about was phone battery, because we could only charge it every like 4 or 5 days. But we also brought a little portable battery pack.
Is there shelters on some outlets or anything for rental?
There's no electricity.
Okay.
No.
I want to make sure it's not easy, that's something they do, so, you carry a battery pack or?
Yeah, and like a little battery pack, and then we just charge our phones in the battery pack when we get to places. I'm not sure.
Not at the shelters, but you can find outlets, like if you're passing by the summit of Killington and it's between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. or whatever, they've got a base lodge and you can go plug your phone into the base lodge. And so you can find places with electricity, but not a shelter.
I have a battery pack that has little solar panels on it, so I put it on the outside of my pack during the day, so it kind of gets charged up as you hike.
So one of my heavy things was a solar charger, and that's why I hiked northbound, because I always have the sun on my back. It turned out not to be very, because it's mostly in the shade. You're only in the open sun for a short period of time. It worked a little bit, but later on I used one of those battery packs that worked better. It could recharge the iPhone about 5 times. And there are enough places for you to pull off and charge it up. It's probably the best bet, I think.
Like the only reason we even used our phones was for the map, and that's like that and listening to podcasts. That's all only reason we had them.
So I'd like to put in a plug for unplugging, actually. I carried a cell phone because it's my camera, and I just kept it on airplane, except when we thought of something else we needed Tim to bring us, and then we'd text him at night where we were and where we were going to meet him, which was predetermined. I took really I started to take satisfaction, and every time I would turn it on to text him, that little red number with all the emails would go up. And when I got off the trail, there were 600. And it has changed. It has changed. It's changed how I deal with email. Instead of sort of being jerked by it every time it comes in, incoming, and responding to it, and having my whole concentration fractured. One of the reasons I went on this long walk was to regain my concentration. I did carry a battery for the cell phone. I bought it at Staples. It was a cheap little thing. I never needed it because I didn't use my cell phone very much. And I also confess, I'm not a purist, I carried a Kindle, and I read 2 books.
Cell phones in one second. Cell phones in the backcountry are really great for they've saved a lot of people in rescues. You can now take better pictures with a cell phone than you can with any other camera. But it's definitely something to think about with, if you're on the top of the summit of Camel's Hump and you're screaming, "Hey, Dad, guess where I am?" Like, other people are going to be bothered by that. So it's one of those being considerate of others in the backcountry kind of things. Do you have a question, sir?
I have 2 questions related to cell phones. One was, when you don't have any kind of cell service, like, does GPS work on a cell phone? You're out in the middle of nowhere?
Yes.
And what was the name of the app? Is it a Green Mountain Club app or a?
I don't remember what it's called. You can just look up like the Long Trail in the App Store, and it will come up. It's like $5, and it's pretty great. Like, it was definitely one of my favorite luxuries on the trip.
I use an app called Gaia, G-A-I-A, which basically has all of the original U.S. Hopland maps in the highest resolution, and it puts you right on it. And you can download the entire strip of the Long Trail. You don't need a cell phone signal at all, and you can all see exactly where you are on the best topo map. So it was great.
Finding through GPS and put you on there.
Exactly, yeah. It took a lot of power. It was great.
The pro version of the All Trails app is actually pretty good as well, and you can pre-download topographic, satellite, all the different views you want, and not need a signal to access them.
This is still the best stuff.
It is, yeah, by the way.
It's an amazing map.
It's a great map.
Yes, I'm very attached
It's
to
great.
it now.
It's waterproof. The batteries don't run out.
Gives good reading material at
If you're
night.
caught in a storm on the summit, you can cover yourself with like 10 waterproof maps and you'll be fine.
Yeah, we never tracked where we were with the GPS or anything, and I was never concerned about where I was on the trail or where I was going. It was
Pretty much north or south.
you follow the light.
You get pretty good at being able to look at your watch.
Yeah.
In milestones you get ahead, and you say, okay, I got to come up this many miles, and look at your watch. Okay, well, I'm hiking this fast. I should be there. I should see it sometime around 10 o'clock. You roll up, there it is, 10, 15 miles. So you get pretty good at gauging yourself. It's kind of fun looking at the map.
But I still recommend bringing a compass also. I mean, an old-fashioned map and compass is a skill that anybody doing this should have. You may never need to use it, but things can fail. Your cell phone can break, signal can be gone, it gets wet. And being able to use that great map there and a compass is really all you need.
Something that you all probably have heard of, or if not, then you should, is the 10 essentials for outdoor recreation, and a map and compass are 2 of the 10 essentials. And I guarantee you that every one of you had all of those 10 essentials, or close to all of those 10 essentials with you on your 3X, because you need them when you're outside.
We didn't have a compass.
I wanted to say that one place where compass doesn't help, cell phone doesn't help. Every time the trail intersects civilization, it gets hard to follow. The tops of ski areas and in towns. The guidebook is helpful, and if you're taking the guidebook, which I think is a good idea, I broke mine in 3 and carried and just only had the section that I needed, and then took the next section for the resupply. We didn't figure that out. The first third, I carried the whole thing, and then I thought, this is silly, we don't need this anymore. And I said, and then we don't need this last part yet. So my book's now held together by a rubber band. But in towns, I just thought it was a really interesting phenomenon that when there was heavy human civilization, the the trail was a little harder to follow. In the woods, it's pretty clear because it's very worn. It's very worn down, and there are white places.
I have a lot of questions, sorry.
Great.
Great.
For water, do you guys all use filtration? And so, do you find it easy for, like, getting water from the trail or best soil filter? I've done using that. And using, like, at shelters, I know that there's usually water at shelters. Is that what you guys all did, or?
We used a Sawyer as well, but also had iodine just in case if the Sawyer broke or whatever. We didn't have to use iodine at all, and the Sawyer worked really well, and we really liked how it worked. No.
We use an old-fashioned Katahdin pump. Our dogs are extreme water the whole time, no problem. We actually met a lot of AT hikers who joked that they hadn't filtered their water in, weeks, and that, when they got to Vermont, they were like, water looks good to us. They had no problems, so.
So as a Green Mountain Club interjection, we suggest filtering your water. There's lots of beaver ponds in Vermont, and they create lots of streams and runoff that you might drink from that has geology.
Yeah.
But through hikers make their own choices.
Go ahead.
I did drink it unfiltered on top of Killington, and it was the best water I've ever had in my life. But it was just one handful. But yes, filter your water.
But didn't it come out of a pipe there?
Yeah, it was definitely a spring. I went for it, and
If it's high up enough, there's no beavers above it, so you're okay. But those ponds, it's on top of summits, they're not going to be bad. I mean, kind of grody, but they're not going to be giardia. There's nothing.
Could you guys all
So-
talk about what you used for your water filtration? Whether you used
Yeah.
a Sawyer or Aquamere or what?
I used a Steripan. That's what we used. We carried one wide-mouth Nalgene and would do the Steripan, and then we'd offload it. We carried these kind of bottles. I have a liter one, and they're really lightweight. They're just the throwaway plastic ones, and you can replace them really easily when they start growing mold in them, which they will do. I just would trade it out. The Steripan, we bought it, it says, it's good for 1,000 uses, but they forgot to tell us that was not on one battery. We had a backup, some sort of iodine, which we had to use once, and then we got new batteries at a resupply. It worked really well. We didn't get sick. Whenever there was a spring, though, when the water's coming out of the ground through a pipe, we didn't bother to filter. And we didn't filter the water that we boiled. We just, or that we cooked with, we just boiled it. We didn't boil it for 10 minutes. We boiled it until we could pour our dinner in it, and then we cooked it and ate it, and that was fine.
I can't speak enough about this. This is a platypus filter, which just works by gravity. When I started, I had one of those Katahdin pumps, and I got real sick of pumping. And this just, you just fill up one side and hook it into this filter chamber, and you just let gravity in, and in like 10 minutes, you have 4 liters of water in the clean bag down there. All of the AT hikers were using these, and were filtering their water, and I just loved it. The trouble is, you have to have a way, you have to have either a stream that you can scoop it with, or use a little scooper that's going to be dirty to fill it up the first time. But that is almost never an issue. And I'm a total comfort. This is great. Never had any problems, and I really would advise folks to filter their water. I'm a physician, and I've seen too many people with nasty backcountry diseases. You might be lucky, but you might not, and you don't want to be in the middle of nowhere with having to, go to medical care when it's hard to find. And
Scott, you're a doctor at UVM, right?
Yes, that's right.
Take your medical opinion strongly.
But you don't have to filter it if it's coming out of a spring.
No springs, they're not guaranteed. It's whatever is percolating into the water. It's probably okay, but why take the chance? It's so easy.
You don't get tired of filtering your water. That's why you take a chance.
I heard you mention Aquamere. That's a great product, lightweight, very simple and easy to use.
Yeah, I don't know what your guys' experience is. I used Aquamere for a long time, and then I got just a little bit tired of the taste. And so now I use a little Sawyer filter and carry Aquamere as a backup. because always a backup is good. Something's going to break on you at some point. But Aquamira is a great product.
Yeah, I had a little Sawyer Mini, and whenever I got to camp, I'd filter 4 liters of water, so I had it for my breakfast in the morning. And I used 2 Gatorade bottles, like 2 liters I would leave with in the morning, because the Gatorade is really tasty, my first diet, and then the bottles are very light. They're lighter than the Nalgene. And I have the little aqua tabs. Sometimes you just don't want to stop and filter water, you just want to keep going.
Just about anything's lighter than Nalgene's. Those Smart Water, Gatorade bottles, throwaway. Nalgene's are pretty heavy
Yeah,
for summer hiking.
we brought Nalgene's and we
brought them.
Yeah, but we noticed that not a lot of other people did, and we wish we hadn't never brought something so heavy.
We had these things that are collapsible that I always loved. You just pop it like that, and you would get a whole bottle that was quite durable, and you could collapse it to nothing when you didn't need it. It's lighter than an Nalgene, and unbelievably durable. It's what's it made by? It's called Hydro Pack, and so one of the problems in carrying water in a hydration bladder is you can't tell how much you got left. So whenever I was unsure, I carry this one full as my reserve tank. You can actually stand on this when you close it. It's super tough.
Shelters, you guys all find that you from shelter, there was room for every night, because I'm very intent on planning my days based on shelters. So do you guys find that it's pretty, I know all of you can do different times too, but I'm planning on going in June, so I don't know if I'm gonna have our own shelters or what.
Yeah, I went in June, and we had a shelter every night. We brought a tent just to use with the bush camp, and we did that once or twice. But every other night we're in a shelter, and there was plenty of room each time.
If you're going in June and you're going northbound, you will have, your first stretch with all the AT hikers. So that first stretch is going to be a lot more busy in June. And then once they tail off and go to New Hampshire, it quiets out in June.
And also, regarding the airbags, are like, you guys all hang your food overnight?
Yeah.
Like 5 feet away from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also had these like Kevlar bags so that mice couldn't bite through them. So we'd hang it up, and then so nothing got into them.
Mice are a much bigger problem in the shelters than bears. Yeah.
Like, a couple places do have bear boxes though.
So at the GMC, at caretaker staff sites and at a range of backcountry sites without caretakers, there'll be a bear box, which is big enough to carry. Let's see, I was on a trip last week. There was 8 people. We were out for 4 days, and we were able to fit all of our food into a bear box. So when you think about that, that's a good amount of food in the backcountry. And if there's not a bear box, then finding a tree for a bear hang and looking up how to do a bear hang and practicing as your planning process is really fun, actually. And yeah, the biggest problem that I think you face is varmints. And so keeping, like Eli said, they make some really good odor-proof bags that you can just seal over. And if you can't find a bear box, or if you don't have enough stuff to bear hang, then those bags are like the next best thing ever. So
You bring up a very good point. Practice. Like just buying gear and going out and saying this gear is going to be great without really knowing how to use it or never tried it before is not going to work out well for you sometimes. It's good to take things out on practice hikes. I kind of shipped my gear down, almost all of my gear down quite a bit before I even got on trail. I did a lot of overnights. Everything from footwear to my pack to my sleep system to my cook system. I treated every time I went out kind of like I would be on the trail, just to get a feel for it, to make sure it was operating the way I wanted it to. For like rain protection, I didn't bring a whole lot. I just brought a big old poncho. I went out one day in the pouring rain. I thought I was nuts. She's like, "You were hiking in this?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's great." And test my rain gear, see if it works. But little things like that are important.
I'd like to second that, even if you don't get to take it out. So we borrowed a tent. We set it up before we left, and our third night out, we got to a shelter that there were 21 people in a 12-person shelter, and we set up our tent late at night, and it was great, and it was a stormy night. We were dry, but we were so grateful we'd set it up beforehand.
Tents are nice. We never use stakes. And I figure I'm in my tent, 2 of us and a dog. It's not blown away. We never staked our tent down once. For me, I saw stakes as extra weight.
I never slept in the shelters unless I absolutely had to, just because people can come in at any hour of the night, and I'm older and bothered by people snoring, and I like to have a little bit of privacy. And if I'm going to be snoring, I don't want to be bothering anybody else. And mice are a huge problem in the shelters. I would hang my food there. They have these great little hangers that have little like tin cans over the top, so the mice can't go down the string. So I often hang my food there, but I would sleep maybe 50 yards off and have peace and quiet. And,
So you always almost slept
yeah, I'd say every 19 to 21 nights.
just some distance away?
Yeah, I mean, usually within sight, but, so it's that there's never any disturbance or noise, and no animals.
Earplugs are really good to bring if you're going to stay in a shelter.
Yeah.
Do you have a question, man?
Do any of you take anything to carry it the whole distance that you never used?
Bear spray. But maybe, yeah, it's one of those things that when you need it, but I'm mostly tickets so my mother could sleep at night. Sorry?
Do people generally carry bear spray?
I mean, I don't live here. I know
don't.
in like
No, I
northern
never did
Quebec, you do.
Like, we brought sunscreen and never used that once.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're pretty shaded usually, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, use most of them.
I carried a lot of first aid stuff I never used, and I'm not complaining.
Yeah, bring a little emergency kit.
I never used my bug spray once.
Yeah, no
Yep.
bugs.
Yeah.
August and early September.
Yeah, August.
Oh, I also brought like a bug net that you could put over your head. I didn't use that once either. Well, I used it once for like catching minnows, but that's about it.
You used it.
But it's stuff that you don't know where you're going to get. I mean, depending on when you're going to have that bug net, would be really, really good to have. I took a section hike about 4 years ago, and it was catalyst for me wanting to do the long trail. But I did all the wrong things. I had a huge pack, so I filled it up with stuff that I didn't need. And it was very heavy, and I did have a bug net, and I was really glad I did it because it was really, really bad. When I got to the shelters, it was a lifesaver. So you were in the household just slacking and stuff. But this time around in September, there's not a single bug out.
Yeah.
Beautiful nights, nice and cool, beautiful days, nice and warm. It didn't rain. I got 3 days of rain, I think, the entire time I was out there.
Yeah.
It was pretty athletic. So,
I changed my shoes from hiking boots to these sneakers. You can't see them. They're pretty worn out now, but they're just kind of heavy duty. I call them sneakers. It's my age. But, that was great.
I went from hiking boots to Solomon Trail Runners. And should have done the whole thing in Solomon Trail Runners.
Yeah, how many of you hiked in boots versus trail runners?
I used boots because it was my first time actually hiking, so I was like, I should probably try something supportive just in case. So
I used boots because the pack was so heavy. I didn't think it'd be safe.
Something to think about, yeah, is if you're going really light, like, then shoes simply can do the trick sometimes. But if you're going heavy, or if maybe you don't have that much backpacking experience, then boots are a lot more supportive and they feel better. The thing with boots is breaking them in. Blisters, obviously, but shoes you can break in a little bit easier.
One of the reasons to use boots is that it keeps the rocks out from falling into the shoes. But I saw a number of people who were using these cute little gaiters that were called dirt girls. That basically were a little like elastic, very lightweight cloth that covered from your sock down and covered the shoe. They weighed nothing, and they kept and it made it possible to really wear trail shoes rather than boots. If your ankles were strong, and everybody I talked to really loved them.
they dried out fast, trail runners. I used the gaiters. I had a pair of Dirty Girl gaiters that were these trail runners actually.
Yep.
super feed insoles
Oh, yeah.
were a lifesaver. I have arthritis on the top of my foot, so if I don't maintain my arch, it can really blow up. I was sure I was going to actually be able to pull this off. But I practiced a lot when I was hiking various footwear. I found that the lighter the footwear was, and the more support I had my arch, much better. I was off hiking longer distances without any pain at all, so it ended up working out really well. And if they get wet, I mean, they almost dry over back, which is great. The first time I went, I had much heavier footwear that got wet or stayed wet. And you know, your footwear always kind of damp. Whereas this, you know, 2 pairs of socks, and you just rotate your socks around. Just hang your socks in.
One of the footwear things is I also bought a pair of Crocs to wear when I was like at the camp, because you don't want to have to hang out in your hiking boots or sneakers, because it's just not comfortable and it's good to get a break from them.
So actually, are you interested in hearing about hygiene on the trail at all?
There's a lot of topics on like all of this, so whatever, whatever we can bring up is.
So there are 4 rules of backcountry hiking, living: hydration, hygiene, hydration, hygiene. And if you can only remember the first 2, you're okay. So you need to drink a lot of water, and you need to really take care of your feet. For ladies, I was taught, my hiking partner taught me about the P-rag, which is a great way to dry off without using toilet paper that you have to pack out. And you just rinse it out. Every night when we got into camp, we went to the water source, filled our dinner bowls with water, took our bandanas, and cleaned off and put on camp clothes. So we wore the same clothes for hiking every day, and we had a pair of lycra shorts, a t-shirt, a pair of cotton socks, and Crocs. And I put those on after my washing off, and I would put on my long pants and shirt again, but then that's what I would sleep in. I'd sleep in the short and t-shirt, and the sensation of just ease and comfort, as well as maintaining hygiene that way. And of course, that's when we would rinse out our P-rags. I wore sock liners, and I had another pair, so I would wash my socks out. And I also did that with a pair of very fast drying underwear. I carried a sort of a clothesline in the back of my pack. We would hang up clothes. We'd put up a clothesline if we needed to. Catherine has the best cleaning system. I'll let her tell you about it. But you can actually stay quite clean, comfortable, and healthy on the trail. But unless you're 16 years old, you have to work at it.
Yeah, so I did exactly what you have one change of clothes that you hike in and it gets disgusting, and then you have one change of clothes, like your good clothes for when you get to camp, you change into those. But for, the washing down beforehand, it's just like a short sleeve t-shirt dress. So you can just, take everything off, put that on, and you can go and wash off, like, in front of everybody, and nobody will know what you're doing, but it's kind of like your little privacy tent that you're wearing, and you can use it as your nightgown, too. And leaves. Leaves as toilet paper. I don't know what the plant is called, but they're about like this. They're kind of like a large heart shape.
Bush.
Possibly, but
Yeah.
they grow everywhere. About waist high. They're the best toilet paper. You don't need to bring toilet paper. I found I wasn't needing toilet paper. But nature provides.
Leave no trace injection into that. It's Hobble Bush is amazing toilet paper, and I fully support using it. But picking from far and distant places, and making sure that you are if wherever you're doing that, you're burying or disposing of your waste properly. Because if everybody in the world used Hobble Bush, we wouldn't have any Hobble Bush. But it's really good.
Someone who hiked with a dog who loves to roll in things like dead fish. You can imagine one of the grossest things she would roll in when she would find who people would not cover up after they've gone to the bathroom. So that was a real issue with us with the dog, of her finding places of that all the time. So yeah, that was a little annoying for us.
Dig a little hole.
Did you guys find that you actually, if any brought like that soap to wash yourself or wash your
Dr. Bronner's?
Yeah,
Dr. Bronner's.
I brought some Dr. Bronner's.
Yep.
And we used it for our dishes a little bit, just so kind of get the smell out, so animals wouldn't want it. But we didn't wash ourselves at all.
What do you recommend bringing in?
I would recommend hand sanitizer.
Yeah, hand sanitizer, bring hand sanitizer, but I left behind my soap after 3 days. I used my tea bag from the morning to kind of wipe out my pot once a day. That's it. And I have a little spatula so you can kind of clean it off really well, but tea bag.
I love the stuff. I use it a fair amount, despite all the religious greed that covers the whole thing. It actually works quite well, and that's one of my reasons my pack was heavy. I had a fair amount of hygiene stuff. My simple thing to do was I had a little fold-down nylon bucket that would hold maybe almost a gallon of water that I could scoop from a small stream and take 200 feet away from any stream, and use just a little bit of that Dr. Bronner's and use like a loofah to scrub up, and I felt great. It was just, and if I could, I would boil some water and make it even a hot shower, but many times I would just do it cold. It wasn't that bad, and it was great to do a bed clean every night.
And fresh socks, a fresh pair of socks that you keep only for the evening.
One pair for
Sure.
Did any of you guys stay off trail at all?
I didn't hear you?
Did any of you stay off trail and go into any of the towns and stay themselves?
Yeah, I stayed off trail 3 times, and then it was kind of nice because those were my 3 rest days also. So it was kind of nice having like real food for like once a week, and like those are the days my parents would come see me, and it made it like I really enjoyed it. I don't know if it was really necessary, but it just made the trip a lot easier.
I stayed at the inn at Long Trail, day 8. I stayed with friends in Mid-State, day 19, I think. I can't remember. And yeah, it was nice to have someone else cook. But I also had these wonderful meals brought to me on resupply days. So that was great.
I mentioned I took 6 breaks from trail, and then also stayed at a couple places that weren't in shelters, just in between shelters that were gorgeous. One was Cape Lookoff Mountain, which had a fantastic, almost on the summit, easy to string a hammock across there, a great view all night long. That was great. One was Domey's Dome, another beautiful spot.
Spent one night in Montpelier, and at the inn at Long Trail, I camped in their kind of front yard. They have really good food and beer and live Irish music Fridays and Saturdays. Check that out. And Manchester Center. There's a hostel. I forget the name. It's Green Mountain something.
Yeah, I stayed there also.
Yeah, they'll pick you up, free Ben and Jerry's ice cream, and they'll drive you back to the trail. And laundry, showers.
Are all these places you guys are mentioning, are they in Rivers Garden?
Probably.
I'm not sure.
I think they are. We have a couple copies downstairs if you want to take a look and get out.
Any tips on how to prevent getting blisters?
My mom actually gave me an article before I left, and she's like, "Oh, you're hiking. You should take some of this." She gave me some paper medical tape, I believe it was, and I was also reading, listening to a podcast from Andrew Scurry. He was talking about at Google, I think, and he was talking about hiking tips and things. And one of the things he said that kind of stuck with me is if you feel a hot spot coming on, deal with it right away. And what I did is if I felt like an area that was starting to feel a little bit like blistery, I would stop, pop everything off, and I would put some of that paper tape on it. It just acted as a little bit of an extra barrier. I did pretty well. I only got really one blister the entire time, so I had a foot covered in tape. It definitely was not painless.
It's like, Scott, you got some moleskin right there?
Yeah, I mean, moleskin is great for prevention if you're starting to feel a hot spot. And then when I was hiking in Alaska, I discovered this incredible stuff called Compeed, which is, if you do get a blister, it's like you don't have a blister anymore. It's that complicated bandage that covers in multiple layers, has a little bit of Vaseline on the inside of it, and it was a lifesaver for me. in Alaska, and I never needed it on the trail, never got blisters. But it was called, now Band-Aid has taken over. I think it's called Compeed. I don't mind opening up one of these. It has multiple layers. It kind of comes, you put one layer on from below, and then it's different than usual Band-Aid. I don't know if you can see it from where you're sitting. And pass it around. I won't do both sides, but it just, pass this around or see it. It also is clear, and even if you have an open blister, it completely takes the pain away and it can heal up.
I just lucked out. Sorry, I just kind of felt a couple hot spots on my ankles, put Band-Aids on them for a few days, and then they calloused over. And
I have some old ones that say Compeed.
pure luck. I even bought my shoes online to buy them, but I just kind of went on a gut feeling and it worked.
Things chafe that like you wouldn't expect to chafe, like the back of the arms, you know, like I hiked in a tank top, it was hot, and so like you get little hot spots. Everyone always talks about the feet being the place of like where you think you need to put all your attention, but there's other spots of your body, like if your shirt rides up in the back and your pack rubs on your lower back. So there's little places that you wouldn't think of that you need to pay attention to, I think, as well, not just those feet, that kind of caught me off guard.
There was one I brought. It's called Glide. It makes it so you don't like you just put it anywhere you feel chafing, and it just gets rid of it pretty well.
And I used and was absolutely saved by a product that had calendula and lemon balm in it, made by the Good Company. I was at the strolling of the heifers in Brattleboro, and this guy was hawking his wares. Told him I was doing the long trail. He said, "Take this, put it on anything," and I did, and it was fantastic. And I had some real serious. I lost a toenail. I had blisters. I ended up buddy taping two of my toes together for most of the trip. And then my feet, once I changed out my shoes, my feet really healed up. And then I found out how much my knees hurt. So I used the tent almost every night underneath my knees when I slept on my back. And that just helped a lot. I had non-steroidal anti-inflammatories with me. We also carried really restorative bourbon and chocolate. I highly recommend it. We decanted the bourbon into a small Gatorade bottle, and we had one square of chocolate each night. And it was so incredibly satisfying. And now that I'm off the trail, I have this chocolate, and I say, okay, I'm just going to have one. And I eat so much more chocolate off the trail. On the trail, there's one square of chocolate every night, chased by a little bourbon. Really was a great thing.
Yeah, my knees hurt a lot. I started the hike with one knee in a lot of pain, so I just bandaged them with ace bandages, and then some trail magic happened, and I found a second one. But definitely, yeah, if anything aches, bandage it up. A lot of Advil helps.
My knees were hurting, and during resupply, I had my parents bring me hiking poles, and hiking poles are probably the best thing I brought.
Yeah,
for sure. Absolutely.
They make a huge difference, especially going downhill.
Mm-hmm.
You can put your support on something, and it makes it a lot easier on your knees.
Did you all use poles?
Yes.
Yes.
And they keep getting better and better.
Yeah. Lighter poles are
more reliable. Yeah.
So you said that you started off with some heavy ones that you dropped, Deborah?
No, I did the whole trail with really heavy ones. And Jan, my hiking buddy, as a thank you gift, sent me these really terrific ones, which I've only used in the winter so far. I've been back on the trail 3 times, once Christmas, New Year's, and in the fall.
They make some brand new, really lightweight poles, and I would say that Lecky and some of the pole makers have the best outdoor gear warranty that I've ever seen. So if they break, you send it back, and they'll send you a new pole within a week. Lecky, L-E-K-I.
Also Black Diamond.
So Black Diamond
I
poles.
just had a recent warranty issue with Black Diamond pair because I use them. They're the Z pole, and then they bend forth like 10-pole technology. I also use them skiing in the winter, and they just broke, and Black Diamond was absolutely awesome and stood in line with the product. And I had never hiked with poles before, and I've done a lot of backpacking. I was like, I don't need poles. Who needs poles? And, you know, someone was like, get poles for the trip. So I got poles, and I was like, oh, so glad I got poles.
Something else you can put on the bottom of your poles, which, you know, the GMC does a lot of trail work. We have crews out all summer long, but you can buy these flat bottomed little pads for them. So most poles now they have sharp steel points. Whereas if you put a pad on there, you're not going to be poking through every little piece of vegetation that's on there, and the pads are much less impactful thing. So I would encourage you to look for those.
That's grippy on the rocks then?
Yep. Yeah.
You guys also poles, did you give any consideration to the way to go before it's like what you used? I mean, I'm sure essential, I don't know, it's like about 2 pounds maybe.
Like, I just use the ones that I found in my basement that my dad used 30 years ago. And like, they worked well. And like, if I do it again, I definitely look into lighter poles. But like, cheap poles worked. No clue. No.
Poles don't go on your back, you know? You got it in your hands. You don't count that as pack weight. Oh, I use them every second.
Yeah, I usually only extend, so for me, it's kind of like, that's 2 pounds on the way up, but coming down, it's a really big thing, and so, and I was talking to Cedric before too, we were talking about this times when it's wet, or, you know, other times when you just, you know, you have to break them out, no matter what, and so, you know, I definitely, you know, they're essential here, you know, maybe someone trying to get as light as possible.
This Osprey pack that I carried here was really nice. It had a sling for your poles. So
yeah.
there were times I didn't want to
Still and go,
after a while, I mean, if you're walking on a flat, you just carry your poles, you're like, you know, you're just dragging a pound in each hand or whatever, but you could sling them on the side really easy. You wouldn't have to take your pack off. You just let it in, sling it up, zip it, and you just keep walking. It's really nice just to free your hands up for a while because you're walking 270 something miles with constantly doing this. You know, it's nice to not have to have them in your hands and still get some mileage in.
Yeah.
Two things actually. The one thing I noticed is when we hike on weekends, I noticed with the trekking poles, our hands and arms don't tend to swell as much at the end of the day. You don't notice it as much, so I don't know if that matters. But the other one too, since you guys are talking about trekking poles, it made me think about something else with these tents. And we got a Nemo tent that uses the poles, the trekking poles, for the stakes. So I was wondering what kind of tents you guys are using. Those of you that have.
I used this borrowed tent that's, I think it was called, I don't even know what it was called. It was a 2.5 pound tent that slept 2 people with plenty of room for our packs, but you couldn't sit up in it. I wanted to just say about the poles and the weight of the poles. I used Primeval poles. They were the first poles I bought, and I bought them because they were $20 each, and they're no good anymore, but they served fine. You can get really into gear. You can spend a lot of money on gear, and I decided that aside from food, we spent about $400 on food maybe, but that's, 150 meals. It's not so bad, not counting the bourbon. So and this is for the people, some of the people in here, the most expensive item that I bought for the trip were these glasses. Because I usually wear, and can you see them? I usually wear progressive lenses, but I thought about contacts, and then I thought, well, and then I would need readers, and then I'd need different readers for when I have my contacts in than when I have them off, and I would need sunglasses and prescriptions. I was going to have a whole trailer just full of eyeglasses. So I bought bifocals, and they have a magnetic sunglass lens, and that's all. And that was a pretty good thing, a good investment.
I wanted to make one quick comment. Just regarding tonight, it's about 8:30 now. I think that we should talk for maybe another 10 or so minutes, and then give you guys all a chance to, talk to people. And if you guys have anything that you really want to show off in your packs, so we can get a little bit more interactive for the last 15 or 20 minutes or so. These people packed up their packs exactly like they would hike. I think that's a really great resource for everybody. So we should be able to explore that.
For the tent we use a Big Agnes, and it was like, I don't know, 2 or 2.5 pounds around there. And it was like kind of cramped to 2 people, but since we're friends, it was like not a big deal. And like we kept our packs on the inside, we put our shoes outside, and we could sit up in it, so it was really comfortable.
So it's 2.5, is that what you said?
About, yeah.
Ours was heavier. Ours was more like 4.5. This is what we had. Didn't want to buy a new one. It was fine for him, yeah. I don't know. It was an old Kelty 10.
I used to go for it.
I'm sorry, my hammock was 3.4 pounds, and I would use the tent poles to open up the tarp so you could like have a porch when it was nice out. When it rained, you put that down so you're really cocooned, but so you use the poles, and it was about the same weight as my tent plus the sleeping bag together.
I used a little Zempire, which is kind of like a New Zealand REI brand. Maybe 2 pounds, 1 pole, so you do need the stakes, but it's tiny but cozy. It's kind of like a glorified bivy sack. But it was...
I used an MSR Hubba, but it was kind of stripped down. I just brought the Rainfly and the pole, so it got down to about 30 ounces or so. I've had friends that on Long Trail, they didn't even bother with the tent. Matter of fact, one was like, just save the weight. Well, I can get it down 30 ounces, like, dude, save the weight. There's so many shelters.
Yeah.
And there was never a time that I didn't, that the shelter was overflowing where it would be, where enough people where it was uncomfortable. But I found that plenty warm, and it's nice as a quilt, so it's not, you're not like stuck in the mummy casing, some of the hot nights you can just kick it off.
The straps around the pad.
Yep. What I do is that I got one of those Comet static V's. It's just a inflatable air mattress. It's kind of a cheaper version of the Thermarest, but that packed out really, really small too. So it's a good system. It's really nice.
My daughter is on the AT right now, and she bought a kit, an Ada quilt, that zips in half, and her partner takes one half, and she takes the other, and it weighs nothing, and they've been pretty warm, although they've hit some snow they didn't expect.
I had a 20-degree synthetic bag, which after 5 days I realized was too hot, too heavy, so I shipped it home. And then for a few days I used my tent fly. It's like a little human burrito wrap until I borrowed one in Montpelier, a lighter down version. And I just have one of those kind of flat inflatable pads that blows up to about that thick. Gives you a little extra cushion.
My pad's at the bottom of my pack there, and I didn't buy a new, I have a very big heavy sleeping bag, but that's what I use. It's comfortable. We're looking into investing in new ones, but next trip, southbound.
Cool. So I think right now seems like a good time. If you guys, if we can mill it out, we can, if you have any questions, I'm kind of interested in Scott's hammock and in your Roughwear thing, because I want to get a dog and take a dog hiking. So yeah, I think that can conclude kind of a question and answer session. And if you guys are willing to hang around for another 20 minutes or so we can talk some more. But thanks everybody for coming, and I will be downstairs at some point, and so if anybody wants to peruse, we can sell stuff from the store. And if you have any questions, the Long Trail Guide will be coming out at the end of the month. A new edition of the Long Trail Guide with all updated trail information, and a new edition of the End to Enders Guide will be out very, very shortly. So those are 2 things to keep your eyes out in planning your hike. Awesome. Thank you. You guys all get free bandana.